Voices right here. We're live at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. I am your host, the Reverend Doctor. You can call me Denise, and live in studio this morning. Oh, I'll talk about that in just a minute. First, I want to say that we are having some technical difficulties. I'm not able to play the song this morning, but I will absolutely talk about it. But I do want to make sure that you know how grateful we are that you are here with us on this day. We know that there are so many other options that you have for what you want, so many other options that you have for what you want to listen to, where you want to spend your time, and for you to choose us right here at 88.3 FM all the way to the left. We are grateful. We are grateful every time you show up in all of the various ways that you show up. You show up when it's time for pledge drive. You show up when we ask you to do a call to action. You show up when we ask you to call in, and the phone line open at 501-433-0088. The phone lines are absolutely open at 501-433-0088. So it is in the spirit of Sawubona, the spirit of oneness, the spirit of our shared humanity, that you are accepted and embraced and honored and celebrated in this space on this day, so that we can have conversations that center Blackness in the context of the human story. That's what we are here to do, and we cannot do it without you. So thank you so much for joining us today. I said earlier that your co-host is in the house, is in the studio live. It is the pastor, Toney Orr. Good morning, Toney.
Good morning, Denise. I hope everybody's having a great day. Great Tuesday morning so far. It is great to be here. Looking forward to the conversation, and just want to thank all of you. We are still getting pledges and donations in from our last pledge drive, and we are so appreciative of all that you do. I was talking to somebody this weekend, and they were asking me about some of the things that I do. And I said, well, I'm a part of KABF 88.3. The KABF is still on the air. I said, yes, it's still on the air. He said, wow, y'all been around for a long time. And I thought that was just so awesome, that we are still the voice of the people who still community radio here in Rock. So just thank you for tuning in this morning.
I'm going to see if I can play this music one more time. Let me see if I can do it. Actually, let's see if we can do it like this. No, we're not able to do it. So I just wanted to, we'll just go ahead without the music today and see if we can't continue to have the conversation. The song was actually Upside Down by Diana Ross. And I don't know if you all remember that song, but yeah, the more you turn me. Yeah, you're giving love instinctively. Yeah, that's the song. That's the song they want to have conversation about. Because what Diana Ross is talking about, in the part that I really wanted to, the one line in this, there's always one line in the song that causes me to choose it for our conversation, that makes me feel like it is relevant. It's that line that says you're giving love instinctively, that you are not even thinking about what you are doing. You're not even processing it. You're not even cognizant of it. It's not even something that you're doing intentionally, but way down deep, you are on autopilot. Way down deep, you just think that you know that this is the way you are supposed to operate in this space, because you've been conditioned or programmed to believe that this is what you're supposed to do. And so you just do it automatically. And so some of us are loving that same way. We are caught up in systems of, that's me. We are caught up in, we're caught up in systems of whiteness. We're caught up in the systems of oppression and discrimination and all kinds of systems that have programmed us to believe that we are supposed to act a certain way. And because we have been programmed from the time that we enter into this space, from the time that we are born, these systems are already in place. We don't realize, first of all, that we have been programmed. We don't even understand that we have been conditioned, but we automatically act in the way that the world has created us to act. And so this instinctive nature that we have to do what we do is what I want to talk about now, because as Diana Ross says, it's got us upside down. It's got us doing things that we really should not do, things that are not working in our advantage, working to our benefit, but we do them anyway, because first of all, we need to be awakened. First of all, we need to be some kind of external force has to come upon us to let us know, hey, this is not the way that you are supposed to be. This is not natural. Even now, when we think about the world in which we're living in, it is not normal what is happening every single day. It is not. And so we have to think about that in terms of our individual lives, the way that we think, the way that we act, the way that we perform. It is not the way that we are supposed to, particularly as Black folks in this world. And so when we talk about Diana Ross saying we've upside down, because we're doing things on instinct. So that's what the conversation is rooted in with Diana Ross. But it's also grounded in the EJI tidbit for today. Oh, Tony, I didn't ask you if you had any announcements or anything. I just started talking.
No problem. No announcements. Let me see. I'm trying to think. No announcements.
You don't have any announcements for today?
No.
Okay. So I wanted to, sometimes I forget about the announcements, and sometimes I have announcements and all of that. And so I just wanted to make sure that we get them in for people. I do want to remind you that I think I don't know if I talked about this, that there's this, I think I called it cocktail hour, that's happening every Wednesday from 5 to 8 o'clock at the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts. And I hope nobody was actually looking for me this past Wednesday, because even though I did show up, I need to be open and honest that I forgot about it. And I was actually doing my walk. I was walking my 30 minutes a day, and I just happened to go that way because every day I decide which direction I'm going to take. I don't have a set route. So those of you who are looking for me, because a few people have stopped me because they said, I know you be walking, I'm looking for you. So you really can't look for me because there's no set time that I go every day, and there's no set route that I take. I just happened to go by the museum and realized when I saw all the cars, I started asking myself, like, what are we doing? Like, why are there so many cars? And then I remembered. And so I walked in. First person I saw, of course, Black man politician sitting down at the when you first opened the door. And of course, we took a selfie. But I talked to him about it. Then I went upstairs to where when we have bad weather, when we're doing dominoes in the park, we go up to that third floor. So that's where everything is happening. You've got DJs, you've got bars. I think it's 4 different bars that they have set up. And actually it's a bar downstairs. And that's what the line was. I was trying to figure out, that's what I was talking to him about. Like, what are they doing in this long line? And so when I went upstairs, I noticed, like, it did not take me long at all to notice that it was only Black people up there, like only Black folks. And it made me feel some kind of way. Cause I'm like, now when I come for other events, when it's just about the art, when I come for an artist talk or something like that, it may be 1 or 2 Black people in the room. And I am one of those 2 or 3 that are in the room. But now here we are, and they say it's cocktail hour, and you got a whole room full of number of Black folks. It might have been 1 or 2 white people in the space, but it was all Black folks. And so I went back downstairs to talk to him because I was like, wait a minute, like, I thought they were trying to create a space that's more diverse. I thought they were trying to create a space where we can be, like all of us can kind of share this space together. Like, what are they doing? They're trying to attract just Black folks. And if they are trying to attract just Black folks, why they do cocktail hours? So you think all we can respond to is hip hop and alcohol? So I really did feel some kind of way. And then Virgil Miller said that he thought it was great. Like, whatever it takes to get people into the space, that's what we want to do. Whatever it takes to get people into a room where we can have conversations, a room where we can broaden the conversation, a room where we can where we can share stories, like whatever it takes. That's what we want to do. And so I started thinking about that, and I'm like, well, maybe maybe there's some merit to that, but it still made me feel some kind of way that the way that they felt like they could attract Black folks was through cocktail hour. And it's actually not called cocktail hour. It's called Wednesday Spins. That's what it's called, Wednesday Spins, from 5 to 8. So I think I'm gonna go one more time. I'm gonna go this Wednesday. I'm actually gonna take a shower and put some clothes on, like I mean to go to this event, and show up. And then I'll have more to say about it. So I'm not really sure I'm recommending it to you just yet. Last time I mentioned it, I was like, oh, this might be something fun for us to do. But now I'm like, I'm not really sure. So I'll have more information about that after I attend, like formally attend on this Wednesday. But in case you are interested, you don't mind going where all the Black folks are, upstairs on the 3rd floor for Wednesday Spins. It is every Wednesday from 5 to 8 o'clock at the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts, 501 East 9th Street. So here's our tidbit for today. On July 2nd, 1822, Denmark Vesey, a free Black carpenter, was executed in Charleston, South Carolina, for planning to emancipate enslaved people. On July 2nd, 1822, Denmark Vesey, a free Black carpenter, was executed in Charleston, South Carolina, for planning to emancipate enslaved people. So we have a free Black man who was actually born enslaved, and some kind of lottery that they were having. I don't know what kind of lottery this is. I really hadn't heard about it before, but he won a lottery. And when he won the lottery, he earned some money, and he used the money to purchase, to buy his freedom. And then he went to buy the freedom of his wife, his enslaved wife, and his enslaved children. It's interesting to me now how when we talk about the system of whiteness, when we talk about the system of white inhumanity, how they change the rules to fit their own game. Because now when you think about legacy, now when you think about heritage, it's always about your daddy. And so when you get married as a woman, if you marry a man in particular, you marry a man, you're supposed to take on his name, and your children are supposed to have his name. You're going to carry on his legacy, the family legacy, in his name, through his line. That's the way we think about it today. But when the system of enslavement was intact, they didn't do it that way. You followed the lineage of your mama, because she gave birth to you. So all of the children that she birthed, they were now going to be enslaved as well. And so the system fit, the process fit the system, so that they can continue to have more and more and more enslaved people, because they were going to breed these women so that they can continue to have children. And so because he was married to this woman who had children, her children were also enslaved, because the process then followed the lineage of the woman. And so he went to purchase his enslaved wife and his enslaved children, but the owner would not allow him to purchase them. So he's now a free man all alone. He ends up in South Carolina. It's a whole way that he gets to South Carolina. And his whole goal is to emancipate other folks. He says, I want to free up, just like I am now free. I know what it means to be enslaved. I know what it means to be conditioned. I know what it means to be dehumanized and traumatized on a regular basis. And so it is my goal to make sure that I free other folks. That's all I want to do in my life. That's my mission, my goal, and my purpose, is to free somebody else. And wouldn't you know it, I'm sure I don't have to tell you that it was some other slaves, Lord have mercy, some other enslaved people who didn't think you should free the other folks. We don't think this is a good idea. And so they told on him about what he was planning to do. And so nothing ever happened. The rebellion never even got off the ground, because before they could put it into place, before they could execute it, their plan was found out, because some of the other enslaved people, a couple of other enslaved people, actually told on them, and several people were lynched, and Denmark Vesey is one of them. And so I want to lift up his story today, because I do think that it fits the conversation about us being upside down, because there are some people right now in your midst. I am one of them, whose goal, whose purpose, whose mission in life is to free us. It's to free us, particularly as Black folks, but to free us as humans. This ideology that we have, that there are some of us that are worthy of being treated inferiorly. This idea, this we upside down in this world, especially the way that it relates to race. place. And so some of us are trying to free us, and there are others that keep us bound. And so I want to talk about that so you can find yourself in this story. Who are you in this story? That's going to be the question for you to figure out for yourself and for you to have conversation with us about it. Again, the phone lines are open, 501-433-0088. So let me pause because I've been talking and see if Toney has something to say.
Yeah, here's the big thing. And you mentioned it as you started. We have been, through different things. There's some things we do instinctively. There's things that we do. We just, and that's I think one of the systems that is in play is what I call brainwashing. That, even if something is untrue and it's a lie, if you tell it so many times, you start to believe it. And when you hear the truth, you dismiss the truth because the lie has become a part of you. And I think that's the one thing, that's the common denominator, whether, in humanity, this brainwashing, because, on one side, you're taught to believe this, and you live into that. And on the other side, you're taught to believe this, and you live into that. And the middle is humanity. And when you can't come to this place where you can see the truth in humanity, then you will constantly have these brainwashing moments. And I think that's what we have to get past. I think that's what we have to start looking at. And I think that becomes part of the freedom that we have to have in how we look at humanity. Individually.
And I think that's where I was until a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a week and a half ago. I'm not really sure how many days it's been now, but I used to be the pastor of, most of the time when I talk about being a pastor, I talk about being a pastor on the coast at Mississippi City United Methodist Church in Gulfport, Mississippi. But before that, I was the pastor of Rebels United Methodist Church in Greenville, Mississippi. And one of the members in the congregation, one of the parishioners there, her name is Marietta Garner. And Ms. Garner, at the time that I was the pastor of the church, was about 70 years old. Well, a few years ago, she actually moved to Arkansas, and she was trying her best to get into contact with me. But the only thing on my mind was my mom. That was the only thing on my mind. So we were like playing phone tag. We were missing each other. And I just did not make it a priority to get in touch with her. I'm just going to be honest about it. I did not make it a priority. I only wanted to do what was the best for me and my mom. But since my mom has gone, Miss Garner has been heavy on my mind. And so I reached out to her. And so we've now reconnected. And it's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful thing for us to be reconnected, for me to sit, because I already love sitting at the feet of my elders. I love it. I love to hear the stories. I love to share what I think. I love to hear their pushback on what I think. I love to challenge them on what they're thinking. I love to share the space. I love to break bread together. I love to laugh with them. I just love being with my elders. So I was pastor of that church. So that had to be 2008, maybe. 2008, 2009. Yeah, because I was only there 1 year before they moved me to the white people church. But yeah, so that's 20, so that's 20, almost 20 years ago. So now she's in her 90s. And so Ms. Garner, so I go over to Ms. Garner's and I'm trying to, I can't find her. And so I send the police to do a welfare check. And that's a conversation for another day, how I came to decide that I was going to send the police. I wanted to go with them, but they didn't know how long. It was a whole big deal. So anyway, they went by themselves. So the next day, I went myself because I wanted to make sure we put in some kind of process so that I could get to her. When she doesn't answer her phone because she cannot hear it, because she doesn't like to wear her hearing aids, she doesn't know that I'm down there. I cannot get in unless she lets me in. I don't know anybody else at the facility. So we got to figure something out, because I need to always be in touch with you. I need to know that you are okay. I need to know that you have everything you need. I need to know how I can support you in whatever you're experiencing like this. I got to find something. So I go to her and I cannot get her. I don't know any people. I cannot get in. And there is a sign on the door that says, if you want to reach a resident, follow these steps. I follow the steps. The system does not work. So since the system doesn't work, it says, if you need help, follow these steps. So I follow the steps for help. The lady comes out of the office. She's the one who's running the office, I assume. And I'm saying to her that I need help trying to get to Miss Garner but this system doesn't work. Well, the lady did not know the system didn't work. And for whatever reason, she got mad at me for pointing out to her that the system didn't work. So she's telling me that I need to stop talking to her because ain't nothing wrong with the system. And I'm telling her the system doesn't work. She sees that the system doesn't work. And she's like, don't be telling me nothing about the system. So it turned into a whole big deal. So the whole conversation dissolved to the point where she told me that I had to step outside. I told her I wasn't stepping outside. Then she said she was going to call the cops. I said, I don't care if you call the cops, because I need the cops to come. I ain't scared of the cops. I ain't scared of you. You know, it was that whole conversation. So then when we finally, so then she goes to call, the white woman decides that she needs some help. She goes to call this black woman to come have a conversation with me. So I'm having the conversation with this woman. At first, I just assumed that the woman was black, but now I know it was intentionally this woman, the white woman, called her by design, that she was a black woman that came to help me. So I'm trying to get help from the black woman to get to Miss Gardner. And now the white woman keeps interrupting. So now we got a problem because you keep interrupting after I'm supposed to be talking to this black woman. So it's a whole big deal. So finally, she tells me I can't come in the building. I'm not allowed to come in the building. They go get Miss Garner. Miss Garner comes down. They tell Miss Garner I'm not allowed in the building. So I have to go around to the other side. Miss Garner is all upset. They say you can't come in. She says she don't like your attitude, blah, blah, blah. And I told Miss Garner, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. Then I noticed that the black woman that had been sent down to talk to me was sitting outside with us. So finally, I looked over at the black woman and I said, ma'am, are you monitoring me? Are you did she tell you to sit down here with me? And so the woman begins to talk about, she says, ma'am, she says, baby, because she's older too. So this is an assisted living place. And she says, this Parkview Tower is right here on Commerce Street. She says, babe, I'm just trying to be obedient. Don't worry about it. So I'm like, okay. I just need to get to me. I'm trying to figure out this system so I can get to Miss Garner. I'm not worried about anything else right now. And every few minutes or so, the black woman who has been sent to surveil me while I'm talking to Miss Garner says, she's trying to explain herself. She's trying to explain what she's doing. She's trying to explain why she's doing it. She's trying to get me not to worry about the white woman. She's doing all of the things that she feels like she has to do to help me understand the position that she's in. And I told her, ma'am, I understand. I'm not upset with you. I'm not upset about anything. I just need to understand how I can get to Miss Garner in case she needs help. That's all I'm trying to figure out. So we working on phone. So we do all of that. I get ready to go, and the lady calls me over again, and she says, baby, take my number. I want to help, but I want you to understand that I'm just doing what I'm. So she's really apologetic. She's really trying to get me to understand her position. And it was then that I said, oh my goodness, I have missed a huge piece of the puzzle, because I've been having conversation on this show all the time about just decide that you're going to do something different. Just decide you're going to live outside the system. Just make a different move. Just make up your mind. Like, that's been my mantra. Like, we have the power. All we have to do is execute the power. We have everything that we need in our hands. All we have to do is make up. Like, that's been my position for a long time. And now I realize when I'm looking at her, you should have seen her eyes. Because she really needed me to understand that she could not do anything other than what she was doing, which was giving me her phone number so I could bypass the white woman, because she knew that the white woman was in the wrong. And I said, oh my goodness, I've been acting like people in her position and older, whoever you are. I was just talking to whoever you are, black, you ought to be able to do this. But here she is, limited income. She's living in a great place. I don't have a problem with the property. Here she is living where she can live. and she just doing the best that she can. She is not in a position to challenge authority at the place where she lives. She can't afford to lose her home. She can't afford to get into it with this white woman. She can't afford for her life to be jeopardized in any way. She cannot afford to have this conversation. She can only do what she's being told to do. That is her life. And so I feel like on some level, when I walked away and I've been thinking about it for days and days and days, and I've kind of disrespected that position. Like, oh my goodness, I'm trying to figure out why you can't just raise up, why you can't just do what you need to do. That's how I've been coming at it. But now I'm like, oh no, I'm the one who has to intercede for her because I ain't got nothing to lose. The white woman can't touch my life. She cannot do anything to me. She can't stop me. She can't affect where I live. She can't affect who comes to visit me. She can't affect my life in any way. So it's my responsibility to challenge the system that has Miss Garner and this woman and everybody else who lives there living under these kinds of conditions. It's my responsibility to be boots on the ground. It's my responsibility to put my life on the line. It's my responsibility to raise up because I can. So I'm acting like everybody can, but not everybody can, depending on your situation and your circumstance. And so that's been something that I've been really, really thinking about, because Denmark Vesey says, I'm willing to put my life on the line because I can. I'm free. So some of the people that we're talking to, they're not free because they're still programmed, they're still conditioned. I'm asking you to raise up, and you don't even know that you have been anesthetized. So until you know, I've got to make sure that I'm doing everything within my power to get you to see that you ain't free. Now, once you see that you ain't free, that's a whole other conversation. But right now, I got to make sure that you see that you're not free. And then even if you believe yourself to be free, what are the conditions that's holding you back? Because that's part of the conversation too.
Yeah, and it goes back to something that I talk about all the time, is that, there are so many people in that position, and it's not just Black, it's white, it's Hispanic, it's Asian, it's all these different people who are in this position where I may want to, but I can't, and because the basic substance of my life depends on me being able just to do what I need to do. I don't like what's going on. It bothers me what's going on, but this is what I have to do, and I have to figure out some ways around this system that that I can help somebody else, and somebody can help me. It Yesterday on my show down with Dad was talking about this and talking about this bill, and I've been talking to so many people over the past month or two. And it surprised me. Well, it did surprise me because I already knew this. But to hear it, there are a lot of white people who realize that I can't say nothing either. I can't buck this system either, because this same system that has trapped and oppressed humanity has trapped and oppressed me. And I can't say anything. I have to go along with it. And I think that's the awakening part. That's the freedom part, is when a person can stop and realize that this is where I am. This is what's going on with me. This is you know, this is the issue. And how do I go about freeing? And some people don't know. They have this idea of, I always say everybody's freedom is different. And there are a lot of people who look at their freedom and they think, well, I'm free. But you're not really free. And so I think that becomes the issue when you're trying to get people to understand the freedom, but also trying to get people to understand that, hey, I can be that one that can put my life on the line. I can be that one to put my body on the line. I can be that one that can raise my voice.
Yeah, and let me just be clear that I don't think that all of us are in the situation that this particular Black woman is in. She's over 70 years old. She's got a limited income. She's got limited mobility. She doesn't have family support. So it's a lot of factors that keep her bound in this particular place. And I'm not saying she's not free. I'm just saying she's not free to speak up to this particular woman in this particular place. Now, some of us, we think we're not free just because you want to make sure you keep this status. You think you can't say anything because you want to keep your job because you're making a certain amount of money. You think you can't say anything because you want to be able to say, I drive this kind of car, I live in this kind of neighborhood, or I'm able to buy this kind of purse or wear these kind of red bottoms. I ain't talking about you. You can raise up anytime you get ready. You are choosing to stay asleep. That I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about people, again, that are like this woman who is my elder in this situation. And so that becomes part of the conversation. Part of the conversation has to do with you being willing to interrogate yourself, you being willing to interrogate your life and tell yourself the truth. Many of us cannot have conversations with the world about the truth because we are not willing to talk to ourselves about the truth. And we're not willing to even tell the people that are closest to us. We got family members that we won't even tell the truth to. We've got parents that we won't tell the truth to. We've got children that we won't tell the truth. So if you can't tell the truth to yourself and you can't tell the truth to your family, your immediate family, you can't tell the truth to your extended family, then how are we expecting you to raise up as a Denmark Vesey? How are we expecting you to say, I'm going to dedicate my life to freeing folks? Because even though I may not be 100% free, the freedom that I do have, then I want to share it with you. The freedom that I do have, I want to make sure you have access to that same level of freedom. Let's grow together in our freedom. You might be free on this level, I might be free on that level, and together let's both get free on the same level. Like, there are conversations that we can't have if we're willing to tell ourselves the truth. And so we've got to have those conversations alone, and many of us cannot do that because we don't even have any alone time. My cousin and I were talking about this just yesterday, or maybe we've been talking about it for a few days now, talking about how life is, that you are, those of you who have 9-to-5 jobs or whatever kind of job you have, where you work all day, even if you work all night, whatever your hours are that you work. And then if you have a family, if you have a partner, if you have children, if you have some kind of, if you are a primary caregiver, then you have so many responsibilities within the home. And then you got to go to sleep. So by the time you get through with all of your responsibilities and you sit and think about it, you have not spent one bit of time alone. And then some of us, when we do have time to spend alone, we don't want to be alone. So we fill that time with something else. We start listening to music. We start talking on the phone. We start doing whatever we can to keep from sitting with our own thoughts, because we don't want to hear our thoughts, because if we listen to ourselves, we're going to be forced to have to make a change. Because when you listen to yourself, finally you have to say, I can't stand it. I cannot stand having this same conversation in my head over and over again. I'm going to have to do something about it. So your body will force you to act if you listen to it. And so we put ourselves in positions to not have to listen to it because we don't want to act. And so those are conversations you have to be willing to have with yourself first before you can then have enough nerve to share your story with other folks. And I don't think that we're having those stories, because even now, especially in the political climate that we're in, when we do have some alone time, we turn on the news. And then once you turn on the news, then that takes you into a whole nother headspace, and you're absolutely not thinking about yourself because you're blaming the system for what it's doing. You're blaming the government for what it's not doing. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of blame that we can put on the government. There's plenty of blame that we can put on the system, but we also have to take some blame for what we're not doing ourselves. So for those of us who are able to free somebody else, well, like I am, because if you think I'm not already started on getting them free over here at Parkview Towers, you got me mixed up, because I've already started the process. So because I'm able to, what are you able to do? What are you able to do? Okay, that's one question. But then as soon as I said it, I thought about it. But then the next question is, what are you willing to do? Because some of y'all are well able to do more than you're doing right now, but you don't want to. And so the question again becomes, why? Why don't you want to? I'm looking at Toney to see if he about to say something.
And you're right.
I can't tell.
And so I was watching this movie. I like watching this Mission Impossible franchise, and on the last one, this guy said that we are the sum of our choices. We are the sum of all of our choices. And what it, and I took it as what the person was saying, said all the choices we have made embody who we are in a lot of different ways. And I think one of the things when you talk about time, when you talk about all these different things, there are choices we make for whatever reason, love, money, however you want to put it, there are choices we make. And when you start to make some of these choices, it almost becomes like tentacles. Now we attach to these choices to different things. And that's what starts to happen sometimes is that we start to, and don't get me wrong, you make your own choices. You decide what you want to do, but what happens because now, and you're now attached to all these different things, and you want to do certain things, but these attachments. And I think that becomes the biggest oppression in our lives is that you know, these attachments, a lot of times don't free us up to do certain things. And I love what you said to begin at the beginning, Denise, where you said that, we talk about this all the time about just do it, just do it, just do it. And what happens is you may want to do it. You may even have the will to do it. But in order to do it, there are some attachments, there are some tentacles that you got to cut off. In order to truly move into this place that you want to be. And I think that's become the biggest dilemma for people. Do how do I still, you know, be in relationship with all these things, but I'm not, oppressed by them. I'm not attached to them. I can do some things I need to do. So I think that's a question, and I think that goes back to what we're talking about, the truth. Is sitting down and being honest and truthful with yourself about these things. Because there are so many things that we're attached to that really uh, can be a detriment to our freedom.
And I think that yes, and I feel like what we have to do, like I do think that there are some steps that I would like to offer, and I feel like in order for you to decide what it is that you are attached to, what are you going to do about these attachments? Like how can I detach? You have to decide what kind of person you want to be. So all of it goes, but when you talked about choices, all of it goes back to choices. But the number one choice that you have to make is yourself. You have to choose yourself. And what we don't do most of the time is choose ourselves. We choose everybody else's gaze. We choose white people's gaze. We choose our lovers' gaze. We choose the church's gaze. We look at ourselves through everybody else's eyes without asking ourselves, what kind of person do I want to be? How do I want to show up in the world? How am I going to allow people to treat me? How am I going to treat other people? Like who am I? And we have that conversation on the show all the time about getting to know who you are, because the way one of the parts of the song that in Upside Down, Diana Ross says, respectfully I say to thee, I'm aware that you're cheating. She said, I'm aware. I'm aware that you're telling me one thing and you're doing something else. I know that. I know that you are not the person who I would really like for you to be, but you still make me feel some kind of way. And then she goes on to say, I know you got charm and appeal. You always play the field. I'm crazy to think you're all mine. So she's saying to us, I know it ain't right for me to be in this relationship because it's not the kind of relationship that I deserve. It's not the kind of relationship that I'm worthy of. This relationship does not recognize my value. And yet she goes on to say, as long as the sun continues to shine, there's a place in my heart for you. That's the bottom line.
You know, I'm here a lot of, we got so much different people. I'm running the whole planet, basically. 100 families, which about 10% run the mass for people. Now, for an individual that I can talk all I want to, I can say I have all kinds of ideas, but am I willing to attack the ruling party? Now, do I have that in my, you don't have to do this here physically. You can bring your thinking, your thoughts have power to them if you put them in action. See, to know the truth, you know the truth about something, and don't take no action, you may well not even know no truth. I ain't telling nobody go out here and commit suicide. But you can pull your thinking out of a system. I know I have choices. 99% of what people think ain't even their own thoughts. They coming from another place. But we think they are ours. And that's where, I can do this, I can make my own decisions. Hell, we buy shit every day that we really don't want. We do things that coming from another program and we don't even know it every day. So talk ain't gonna get it if you ain't really destroyed the power. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, caller. I agree with you on that. I agree with you. I really like what the caller said about it's not always physical, the moves that you have to make. The first move that you have to make is a mental move. And then that ties right into what we're saying about you have to decide for yourself who you want to be, and you have to take the steps to become that. Because this world, especially for Black folks, especially for people of color, this world does not create space for you to know who you are fully. That's a journey that you have to go on, the journey to yourself. There's so many distractions. Again, all these different gazes that we get for you to see yourself this way so that you can become this size, so that you can lighten up your skin, so you can make your hair longer, so that you can be holy. Like all of these different gazes that we have, that we are seeing ourselves through, that we don't even know who we are. And so that's a journey that you have to go through to get to yourself. And it's an ongoing journey. So we have to be committed to it every single day. You wake up, my brother says he's married, my older brother's married. He said, I have to wake up every single day and commit to this marriage. Like that's a choice that I make every single day. And so it's a choice that you have to make to yourself every single day. I'm coming home to myself. That's the journey that I'm on every single day. And so once you begin to do that, then you will allow yourself to be seen through other people's eyes, because then you can begin to ask people how they experience you. And you can say, oh my goodness, I've had people, I don't mind doing that. I don't mind you telling me how you experience me, even in those moments when I'm like, ouch, is that what you see? Is that how I sound? Is that what I say? And then sitting with that. Again, you got to spend some time with yourself to decide if this is who you want to be. And if you say, this is not who I want to be, then what can I do? What step can I take? And then there's a process that we have to go through to begin to ask ourselves. When Toney talks about these entanglements, when you talk about what you're attached to, that has to do with people too. And I'm not talking about your job. I'm not talking about your boss and all of that. I'm talking about who are you spending time with? Who are you allowing you to speak into your life? Who has influence over your thoughts? Who's in your inner circle? Because sometimes you need to detach yourself from those people because those relationships are no longer serving you. And I don't care if y'all been friends for 30 years. I don't care if you grew up knee high to a duck. I don't care. If you are in a relationship that is no longer serving you, then you have to be willing to say, I'm worth more than this relationship, and to let it go. And then when you let it go, that means you have to now sit with the silence of that, because all the room that they were taking up in your life, that's now going to be silent. And now you're going to feel lonely. What does it mean to feel lonely? It's okay to be lonely. There are ways that you can work through your loneliness. Those are conversations that we have to be able to have, because we need to know what it's like right to sit with ourselves and to say, I'm worth more than whatever it is that this relationship is bringing to me, and to grieve the loss of relationships. We are not allowed in this world, oh my goodness, especially the world of religion, the way I was taught as a child growing up. You're never allowed to be sad. No matter what happens, the Lord will provide, the Lord will make a way. It was the Lord's will. Weeping may endure for a night, joy come in the morning. It's always pushing you to this happiness, pushing you to this joy, pushing you to get over it, pushing you to say it's the will of God, when really you need to sit down and cry sometimes, because this hurts and this sucks. And I need to spend some time grieving this loss because it makes me feel some kind of way. So there are some steps that we've got to learn to take if we are going to say, not only am I going to be free, but I'm going to put my body on the line for somebody else's freedom. Because that's what I'm talking about with Denmark Vesey today. That's what I'm talking about with Diana Ross. Where we upside down because A, we don't know that we're free, and B, we can't help nobody else be free until we realize that we have the power to free somebody else. And do you even want to see somebody else free? Because that's part of the conversation too. Some of y'all have gotten so caught up in this system of white inhumanity that you think the only way that you can be big is to make somebody.
Came over to me to try to, I wasn't erasing nothing, but try to explain to me that I would have to leave because she didn't want me to create a scene, and she knew that I was right, but she couldn't go against her boss. So that was a position that she took, as you mentioned, because of her job. And I just want to explain to you that as you go, and I see you extensively travel from Greenville, Mississippi to Gulfport, Mississippi, is like going from night to day. You're going from the Delta, if you will, right there to the Arkansas, Mississippi border to the Gulf Shore, where at one time black folks couldn't even go on that beach. You couldn't go to Gulfport and do anything. I was stationed at Biloxi, which is right there, Keith Air Force Base back in 1962. So to make a long story short, what you're saying is absolutely correct, and times have changed, but then they haven't changed, because if you notice, at that camp, which was a Christian camp in Texas, where all of those folks were devastated, if you will, even though they were Christians, they were all white Christians, and you have to think about, where in the hell are we in America? Are we somewhere in Sweden or Switzerland or somewhere where the so-called white race is predominantly, and you won't see black folks scattered around? And I said, how can you have all of these white folks at this camp and no black folks, but they say that they're Christians. Oh, okay, so now we got black Christians and white Christians, but they don't say that. They say black Muslims and white Muslims, black Muslims, if you will, to be a distinctive part of an organization or a distinctive part of a group or belief. But you don't have that in the predominant, if you will, religious society here in America. They don't say black Christians or white Christians. But that's what it looked like when you're looking at what the devastation was, and it reminded me of Gaza and all the thousands of little children who have seen death and experienced death, if you will. And this man said that he heard those screams in that river. And I said, well, that's just the river of Gaza. You know, but it's like what goes around comes around. And if you travel from Greenville, Mississippi to Biloxi, Mississippi, or Gulfport, Mississippi, just thousands and thousands of our predecessors or forefathers have worked that land in Mississippi to the benefit of very small, if you will, not just very small population of white folks who own everything, and all of those black folks between Greenville and Gulfport don't have anything. And Gulfport in that area is one of the most exclusive areas in the entire nation of the United States. A lot of people don't know just how beautiful it is down there, or how diverse it is, or how expensive it is to be down there. So I just want to add that you have to be truthful to oneself and just call an ace and a spade. And that situation at Parkview has been ongoing, and it's good that you're taking up the battle. But there was a lady that used to play dominoes with us who was going through a situation over there at Parkview. It's not the first time that it's been on the air, as a matter of fact. She speaks about it, and I don't recall her name. But if you would, you might be able to go back and find out exactly who she was. With that, I'm going to get out there, and y'all have a blessed day. And let folks talk sometime. Yeah, good rest of the day, and talk to you later.
And it goes back to something else. That system with Parkview is a piece of an overall system that happens, and with housing, assisted living. It's that system of where you devalue the people who live there. And anytime you challenge, and that's what I'm hearing, because what we do in Arkansas Readers United is the same thing. When you start talking to people about how their system isn't working, and they push back, they know the system isn't working. They know this stuff doesn't work. But what they want you to do is shut your mouth and just go along with it. Yeah, and that's why when you said, Denise, that I don't have nothing to lose. I'm gonna put myself on the line to change this, to bring attention to this, and that becomes the issue. Are you upset enough at the system upset enough at the system to say, I'm going to do something about this system?
Well, I don't know if my question to myself is, am I upset enough at the system, which probably does factor in some way. But what I'm upset about is I'm watching this Black woman, which when I looked in her eyes, I felt like what she was doing was pleading for freedom. That's what I felt like. So I'm upset that she's not free. And so I'm motivated by her lack of freedom. And that is what I want to offer to her. The freedom to be able to live in a space where she doesn't have to just obey what the white woman said because the white woman said it. Like, no, you ought to be free to be who you are and to be treated with respect and integrity, the integrity that you deserve as a human in this space, whoever you are, but particularly as a Black folk. So that's what's motivating me more. And I just want to be crystal clear. I want to be transparent. I try to be as transparent and vulnerable as I can be, always, at all times, in front of all people in all places. I am well aware that whenever you involve the police, then I could die. That's how I feel. I feel like anytime the police show up on the scene, it's highly possible that I will die. And so that thought is scary to me. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not scared about that thought. That thought does scare me. and yet and still I am willing to deal with that fear in the face of injustice. And so when the white woman said, I'll call the cops, I meant it. I call the cops, because even if it meant that I was going to go down in that moment, because that was going to be highly possible, it was worth it for me trying to free these folks, and particularly my old parishioner, to free these folks in this place. So I don't want to pretend like, hey, the cops ain't got no effect on me. They absolutely have an effect on me. But sometimes I feel like we got to say, listen, life has to be worth more than my own safe conditions. Because like I said, I can just go home. I'm not worried about anything when I go home. So am I just going to sit in my own comfort? Am I just going to sit in my own good life? Am I just going to sit and say, oh, well, that's not me, I don't have to worry about it? And that's what I'm pushing us to think about. How willing are you to put your life on the line so that somebody else can be free? Because at this point, those of you who are saying things like, I have white friends that are saying, oh, now I see that, we ought to be fighting. I'm trying to do everything I can now. They were at the No Kings rally. They doing all of this stuff. But when we boil the conversation down, when we drill down in the conversation, it's still about them. They're not fighting now because they see the whole world is on fire. They're fighting now because they're like, I want to fix it for me. I didn't know this was going to happen to me, so let me fight now. You're fighting for yourself, so you still don't get it, because the rest of us are fighting for a free world. You fighting for your place to stay the same as it was in the world. That's two different conversations. And so that's what that's what I'm trying to push us to think about. Are you spending the time with yourself to see who you are? Are you asking yourself what kind of person that you want to be? Are you taking the steps to be that person in the world? Then are you saying, who around me is keeping me from being the person I want to be? Are you willing to let go of those attachments? At what cost are you willing to fight for your own freedom first and then fight for the freedom of other folks? Those are the questions that we're asking you to think about. And I do want to apologize to Ezekiel and to all of you, because I said at the beginning that the phone lines are open at 501-433-0088. I don't care what anybody says. This system ain't working like it usually does. I had no idea that the phone lines were ringing. So please don't think that I don't want you to talk. You make the conversation. We are only here because of your conversation. So I do want you to be welcome in this space, all voices, at 501-433-0088 every time that I'm on the air. So I just want to apologize for that. We are absolutely running out of time. Let me see if Toney has anything that he wants to say.
Oh, thank you for tuning in today. It was a great conversation. See you Thursday.
Want to get your girl Lola. She's coming in. You got 2 hours of jazz that are lines up right now for you. We started with Jazzy Tuesdays. Always starts with the women. I'm gonna see if I can't play this song I've been trying to play since the beginning. Upside Down by Diana Ross. Want to bring that in. Bring your girl Lola in with that. These songs, I know that we don't think about it in this way when we have music that is penetrating our spirits and our minds and our bodies and our souls. It's also being used in this space on KABF 88.3 FM to move you to action, to move you to think, to move you to realize that you are free in some ways. Use that freedom to free somebody else. So don't touch the dial. You got 2 hours left with your girl Lola coming in with Jazzy Tuesday. You want to hear these songs. We'll see you next time. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Hold on. Can y'all hear me? Am I still on?